Hi guys, welcome back to Econ Time with SK. So grab your notebooks, your favorite cup of coffee, and let's get started. So we continue with our discussion on price elasticity of demand. And now we're going to do a very important application, which is we're going to look at how elasticity actually affects whether total revenue will increase or not, right? So basically, whether the good is elastic or inelastic, this actually determines if total revenue will increase, if it will decrease, or if it will stay unchanged. Okay, so now a quick recap. Total revenue by definition is price times quantity. So we write total revenue as P times Q. So now let's understand how demand elasticity affects what's going to happen to total revenue. So I love the arrow diagram. So I'm going to ask you to give me your answers using this arrow diagram. All right. So as we said, total revenue is P times Q. If you're dealing with elastic demand, let's say that there is an increase in price. Elastic means that quantity demanded is going to respond a lot more than the change in price, right? So basically, let's say the quantity demanded falls like this. So which effect is actually going to be stronger? Obviously, the downward pull of the quantity demanded is going to be way stronger than this upward pull of the price. So that's why this change in quantity is actually the stronger one. So what it's going to do is it's actually going to pull your total revenue down. On the other hand, let's deal with price decrease. So in this case, let's say that the price falls. In that case, because you're dealing with elastic demand, the quantity demanded will increase by a very huge amount, by a much larger percentage, right? So in that case, it's not hard to tell that this pressure is going to be stronger than this. So this upward pull of quantity is going to be stronger than this downward push of the price. So ultimately, what do you think is going to happen? Well, total revenue is going to be pulled up. So this is what we are summarizing here, that when there is a price increase, since the change in quantity is stronger, so total revenue is pulled down. On the other hand, when we are dealing with a price decrease, since the change in Q is stronger, it actually ultimately pulls the total revenue up. Okay. So what happens when we are dealing with inelastic demand? Well, in the case of inelastic demand, let's say there is an increase in price. Guess what? There's going to be a response in quantity demanded, but it's going to be really small. So in this case, which impact do you think is going to be stronger? Of course, it is going to be this one, which means what will happen to the total revenue? It is going to be pulled up because the change in price is going to have the stronger impact. On the other hand, let's deal with the case where price is falling. Once again, when there is a fall in price, the quantity demanded will increase, but it's going to increase by a much smaller proportion, right? So which effect do you think is going to be stronger? That's of course going to be price. So because price is being pulled down, what do you think is going to happen to your total revenue? It's also going to be pulled down. So when there's a fall in price, the change in P is stronger, which is why total revenue actually falls. Finally, when we're dealing with unit elasticity, guess what happens? Well, what we learned is that the percentage change is the same when we're dealing with unit elasticity. When price increases, quantity demanded falls by the same percentage. So they sort of cancel each other out, and that is why total revenue remains unchanged. Similarly, when you're dealing with a price decrease, and I can see that there's a typo here, so if you could correct it, this is a price decrease, then the quantity demanded increases by the same amount. And so basically they're canceling each other out, this movement in opposite direction. And so total revenue again just remains unchanged. So usually people expect that if price increases, then of course, you know what, total revenue should increase, right? This is what people expect. But what have we shown? We have shown that it's actually the price elasticity of demand that decides or determines whether total revenue will increase or decrease, or it should remain constant. So if the firm's agenda is that they want total revenue to increase, they need to know whether the demand for the good is elastic or inelastic. So if they figure out that, look, the good that I'm selling has elastic demand, in that case, in order to raise total revenue, they're actually going to lower price. On the other hand, if the producer knows that his good has inelastic demand, then if his aim is he wants higher total revenue, what he's going to do is he's going to actually increase the price. So that's why we are saying that it's very important for producers to know whether the demand for their good is elastic or inelastic. One last word of caution: please don't confuse elasticity with slope. So that's why the first bullet is saying, look, elasticity is not the same as slope of the demand curve, okay? To understand that, just remember that elasticity is about percentage change in y due to x, where slope deals with the ratio of change in y to change in x. There's no percentage here. So look at, when we calculate elasticity, do you see this part? This part is actually nothing but the slope, right? So I'm going to write that down, okay? So look at this. Elasticity of demand, the formula was change in quantity demanded by change in price times price average by Q average. This is nothing but the slope. The slope is a part of the elasticity of demand. They're not the same. Elasticity of demand is something more because it actually deals with the percentage change. All right, so with that, we end our discussion on price elasticity of demand. And in upcoming videos, we're going to discuss cross elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, and of course, elasticity of supply. All right, guys, I shall see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.